Duncan Castles confirmed this last night, along with PSG confirming it today via the French media, that Chelsea have opened negotiations with PSG for Kylian Mbappe. This Chelsea juggernaut in terms of spending doesn't look like it's going to stop, mate, at all. It's crazy.
No, it doesn't. And you know what? The one thing Chelsea do collectively, they spend a lot of money. But this window, how much money have they raised from transfers? Mount, Havertz, Koulibaly, Mendy, Kante.
Between 200 and 300 million, easy.
This is what I'm saying. But it's since Bowley's been there, he's shown the intent. I want to win. Abramovich might have been here and been here, had what's probably the most successful decades in the clubs were in England at the time. The new owners come in, played a bit of Monopoly, spent an awful lot of money. What's he done? 600, 700, 800 million, something like that. But he's recuperated a lot as well. So it's not just then their net spend will be higher. But if they get hypothetically Kylian Mbappe and Caicedo, they're right in a title race. And one game a week with Pochettino, and we know what this guy's like when it comes to working with young players. He did it at Spurs. He got us into a title race, and we didn't go and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions. So there is an element of this is in my opinion, this is Poch's last chance. You've been at PSG, you've been with the big dogs, you've been with Mbappe, you've been with Neymar. Now you're going to a club that's success is the only metric. You don't go look at Tottenham and look at, we've got the world's longest bar, we've got Lady Gaga, we've got Beyonce, we've got all these things. The success at Chelsea on the pitch is the main thing. So you've got to deliver now. None of this. Let's see how he gets on. If he brings in Caicedo and hypothetically they're bringing Kylian Mbappe, Chelsea fans will expect to be in a title race. One game a week, no pressure of Europe. He'll have time to implement his philosophy, implement his style, and Pochettino, you've got a point to prove more than anyone now because you've gone to PSG. PSG is a bit of an awkward club because unless you win the Champions League, you don't really deem it a success. Thomas Tuchel got them into a Champions League final. Unai Emery won the league there. Poch has won the league there, but no one really cares about that unless you win in the Champions League. So now you're at Chelsea. You've got to deliver, mate. Simple as that. I mean, our fans, by the way, our fans burning his book, burning his shirts. Like, we've got to understand that we didn't want Poch. Levy didn't go in and get Poch. So a bigger club's come down the line and said, we want to get you. There's the money. Do you blame him? Does anyone blame Poch for taking the Chelsea job? No.
Well, do you know what's funny about it as well, though? Like, your club did him dirty. At the end of the day, you stopped investing in him. You sacked. You guys wouldn't even let him steal. With all the money you make, you wouldn't let him spend £50,000 in the end of his own money on cameras so we could kind of do some new age technical analysis of training. You wouldn't even let him invest £50,000 in cameras in the training ground. So you went through multiple summers where you didn't give him more money. He got you to the best point you've been in my opinion, since Bill Nicholson, where you were on the edge of winning major trophies. To have a go at him for being ambitious is crazy. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I do agree with you. There is pressure on him to deliver during his time at Chelsea. And the Mbappe news is interesting because I understand if the news came just from PSG, you could argue that all they're really trying to do is force Real Madrid's hand. And there will definitely be an element of game playing going on. But Duncan Castle's reporting on it is very interesting because Duncan Castles is not a transfer expert. He is a very highly credible sports journalist. And when you speak to other people in their industry, the journalistic industry, about Duncan Castles, he is looked at as tip-top. Now, but the problem is with the younger generation, they go, well, I've seen him get transfer news wrong. That means he ain't good. But that's because he's not a transfer expert. He just tells you what's coming out and being said within football. He isn't worried about that deal coming to a conclusion and being right. Does that make sense? Well, when I think it's David Ornstein and Fabrizio, and I mean this with respect, their main thing is I need to make sure that when I start reporting on the transfer, it actually happens. So they hold back from reporting on rumors and stories that may not blossom, where Duncan Castles doesn't care because that isn't why he's talking about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He was the guy back when Neymar moved from Barca to PSG. He had the inside track on that all summer, but he just spoke about it quite openly, quite candidly. And people said he was crazy when he said that the deal won't happen until right near the end of the window because Neymar and his father between them are owed about 70 million in loyalty bonuses from Barcelona. So whatever happens, you're going to have to wait beyond a certain date in August, and then you'll see it move. And he was laughed at because it then went quiet for 5 weeks. And Duncan Castles said that it'll happen later in the window. And all the other journalists reported that it was off. And then it happened. And I'm not suggesting that means this is 100% going to go on right now. But Chelsea have definitely inquired. The same as Man United have definitely inquired. Liverpool have inquired. I mean, it's been reported that Spurs have. Now, a lot of the press close to our football clubs deny it because what our fan bases and our clubs are most scared of is the notion of rejection. I don't quite understand it. Like a lad that walks up to a lady in a bar and tries to have a dance or get a number but gets rejected looks much better in my eyes than the dude that sits in the corner and doesn't approach anybody. Like you have
to sit in the corner laughing at him getting rejected.
Yeah, but hasn't got the balls to do it himself. And Chelsea need to be in this conversation because Mbappe's mid-20s. Whoever he signs for next, in my opinion, that's it. Forever hold your peace. So I do think Chelsea are going to try and get this deal done. However, I don't think they will. I think Real Madrid will swoop in with whatever happens. And I think Real Madrid are being smart. They're almost letting other clubs do negotiations. The player doesn't want to go to Saudi. So I think what they'll do is, listen, let's let Chelsea and United and whoever else talk about it. Get to a point where maybe we're seeing like a reasonable fee that they would accept. Then we come in and go, boom, we match it. And we know the player wants to come to us because right now they want 200 odd million. And I think Real Madrid know, like, well, Mbappe doesn't want to sign until near the end of August when he gets his loyalty bonuses anyway. So we don't need to panic right now. So look, I wouldn't get my hopes up as a Chelsea fan. Oh my God, we're the front runners. But you never know in football. At the end of the day, if Real Madrid don't come in for him and he has to leave PSG, why would you not want your club in the conversation working on the player? It's crazy to me. The people want to deny it. Like I trust Duncan Castles enough to know that he ain't just making this up. PSG have reported on it. They're in the race. It could potentially happen. They're out. They've got an outside chance, but I'd rather have an outside chance and be active than sit in the corner and not be involved at all. That is a madness to me. Why not have a punt on getting, in many people's eyes, the best player in the world? It makes no sense to me.
I've got an opinion on that just quickly.
Go on, mate.
I don't think Mbappe, like, I'm probably going to get pelters for this.
Go on.
But Rory Jennings said this the other day on TalkSport, and I think Rory Jennings at times has got some wild opinions. But he said, Kylian Mbappe, how can he be the best player in the world? He's never played in the top league. And what has he really done on the Champions League stage? Now, before anyone says, but he's done it on the World Cup, that's only a 7-game stint. Right? Kylian Mbappe, when it comes down to what he's done at club level, you've only ever played in not even a top 5 league now. They're lower than the Portuguese league now. So if you go to Real Madrid, then you can put your name in and you do it there and you win in Champions League. Then you put your name up there with the best players in the world. But Lionel Messi at 35 years of age on the World Cup took the absolute biscuit out of everyone at 35 years of age, right? Mm-hmm. And carried his team to a World Cup. Kylian Mbappe has never done it in a top league, ever. It's not like Ronaldo, where he's gone and done it in La Liga, the Premier League, Serie A, done it on an international stage, and now doing it in Saudi. Every time it comes to the Champions League, the biggest game, you got to turn up. He never delivers. It's similar to Harry Kane. When it comes down to the biggest games on club level, how many times has this guy delivered? So how can you be the best player in the world?
I mean, his goal return is very good. I think he has 40 goals in 61 Champions League games, which is a phenomenal return.
But stage, Terry, like when you get to the quarters and the semis, the guy goes missing. And like in that league last year, Lacazette scores nearly 30 goals. Balogun scored 20 odd goals. Right? You put Harry Kane in Ligue 1, he scores 35 goals a season. No problem. No problem at all. You're doing it in a league where, all due respect, like Brighton would get in the top 4 over there. Like,
what do you make of comments like this that say Mbappe has done it in the Champions League and it says it's harder to win the World Cup at 18 than at 35?
Hang on, that doesn't even make logical sense. At 35, right, your body is not as fast in terms of reactions. Your actual ability drops off. It's only freaks of nature throughout sport, like Tom Brady, flipping Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, Messi. It's only the freaks that get to the end. Mbappe has done it in Champions League. Okay, name a big Champions League game where these guys turn up other than the group stages. Name one. Because no one can give me a game. He gets to the quarterfinals and doesn't deliver. And then it's harder to win the World Cup at 18. Like, I don't understand how that makes sense. At 18 years of age, you are coming into your, like, throughout your body, you're coming into your adulthood. At 35, you're close to hanging up the boots. Like, is there any other 35-year-olds have put on a World Cup like that throughout history? At 35.
Listen, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, how old was Zidane when I know they didn't win it in the end, the old headbutt, but he kind of dragged France through. So do you kind of, I'm asking you questions here as opposed to agreeing with you. Do you feel like France's quality team has sort of
carried him,
kind of dragged and carried Mbappe? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you look at their midfield at their peak, right? They had Kante and Pogba at the time was probably the best duo at the time in terms of how they played together. Their defense was an absolute joke, right? Varane, Upamecano, whoever they played at the time, right? Hernandez, and then their depth in players. They probably would have won the World Cup in 2018 without Kylian Mbappe. They destroyed Argentina 4-1. Immediately he got a brace in that game, right? They absolutely destroyed everyone. So, like, without Kylian Mbappe, the level of teams they played in 2018, they were far superior to everyone else.
I understand that. Do you think he will deliver in a better league? Do you think he will deliver these Haaland-esque numbers in a Prem or in the La Liga? Do you think he has the ability to do it?
Yeah, I think he's got the ability to do it. I'm not questioning his potential and his ability, but like to do something in La Liga is a lot harder to do it in Liga. Look throughout like the Champions League, the Europa Leagues. In the last 15 years, that league has won more. Let's just say Europa League, for instance. You see Sevilla do it, Villarreal, right? You see the Champions League, Barca, Madrid, Atletico have been in finals. It's a lot more of a competitive league than Ligue 1, where you're playing against, I don't know, Saint Etienne, who didn't even score 12 points. Like, I hear what people are going to say, oh, here comes another clapped, deluded Spurs fan, blah, 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 blah. But I don't understand how anyone can be the best player in the world playing in France.
So
is he a better footballer than Messi right now? No, he's not. He's not.
The thing is, though, how do you judge best player in the world? Do you judge it? Because theoretically, I look at it as who has had the best. When I look at Ballon d'Or winner, okay, so that's who we typically consider the best player in the world. I look at it on how influential and how consistent and how great your performances and the trophies you've won off the back of it have been in that kind of calendar year. I think they've moved it to seasonal now, but so because theoretically, no one's been a better technical footballer than Messi, in my opinion, for the past 10 to 12 years.
Since he started playing football, to be honest.
So based on that logic, he should win the Ballon d'Or every year. The Ballon d'Or isn't about who is technically the best football player on ability. It's about who has had the best season in the eyes of football writers, as an example, and or the fans. So I look at it and think to myself, I kind of get why people would still put Messi. I wouldn't put Messi into that category in the last 12 months either, because he's now playing in the MLS. I know he won the World Cup, but he was also playing in that substandard league as well, based on what you're saying. Where I don't agree with you on Mbappe. I think he could be the best player in the world.
I'm not saying that. You're saying he could be, but he's not right now.
Yeah, where I do agree with you is I think he already has a very good legacy in the game of football. Put it out there. He's won a World Cup. He's got a hat-trick in the last World Cup final. He got lots of goals in the Champions League. I think he's won the league title every year that he has been a professional football player, because he won it at Monaco first. And that's a good achievement. But I do think, and I think he has the ability to sit in that category of players. Messi and Ronaldo, for me, they're the two best football players ever. They're in a category of their own. Then you have everybody else underneath them, from Gerd Müller to Ronaldinho, Zidane, Puskas, Pally, Scholes, all these guys are in that category. I think ability-wise, and I think he sits in there. The one thing he doesn't have, though, he doesn't have a body of work in one of the best leagues in the world. So I do agree with you on that. However, I think when he goes to La Liga, or if he was to join Chelsea or Man United and come to the Prem, I think Mbappe would absolutely, categorically destroy it. So I'm almost at a point where I get where you're coming from. He needs to go and deliver, but I sort of think that he will, if that makes sense. I remember when Tyson Fury hadn't fought anybody of any real note. It was that he can't be a world class.
He was basically fighting Weatherspoon's bouncers
until he fight. Yeah, but I used to watch him and go, look, again, I'm not a boxing purist or an expert, but I watched him and thought, I think this guy is a type of. I think he'll step up and whoever he gets in the ring with, he'll up his game and beat. And did it to Klitschko, did it 3 times to Deontay Wilder. One of those fights came after 3.5 years of drug abuse and being overweight, and schooled him for large parts of the fight. We saw how easily he dismantled Dillian White, and I'm sure when he gets in the ring eventually with Usyk and AJ, he'll do the same thing. That's almost like Mbappe to me. I think whatever challenge gets put in front of him, I believe his ability and his quality as a footballer will get him through. So if he goes to Real Madrid, he'll score a huge amount of goals. He'll have great performances, and he'll win, in my opinion, at Real Madrid, every single major trophy available to them as a club in that time. He'll make them Champions League winners again. If he joins at 24, 25, by the time he maybe falls away from Real Madrid at 32, 33, because a large part of his game is based on pace, so that might wane at that point, I believe he wins everything, including at least 2 Champions Leagues. I think he's that good, but he does need to go and do it at one of these clubs where
I agree.
You're not solely judged on goals and performances. You're judged on the most important part of football at the elite club, which is winning trophies, which, again, he's failed in the Champions League to help PSG win it. But we know they're an anomaly. They're a weird club. I think Real Madrid is different for him. So, yeah, I think you can call him the best player in the world. And the problem that you've got is that everyone has a different opinion on what makes you the best. I was watching a bit of Pitchside the other day, and their debate was, somebody on there said that, well, no one should ever win the Ballon d'Or other than Messi in the last 15 years because he's been better than everybody every year, even if you've had a good season. Some people think it should be based on the individual season that you've had. Some base it just on ability. Some will look at ability and performance, but then it's, well, what league? And ironically, people tell me the Bundesliga is a crap standard, but then we're crying out for Lewandowski to win the Ballon d'Or. And I'm like, hang on. How can you want someone to win the Ballon d'Or who's doing it in a league that you say is easy and rubbish? That's what I mean. There's such an inconsistency in terms of opinions around this sort of stuff. Someone here says they judge by eyesight. I don't think you can just judge by eyesight. I think you have to judge with eyesight or eye test. I think you have to look at statistics, as in for a striker, their outputs, their delivery, who they score against. You have to look at what the eye test and the stats produce for them and the team in terms of trophies. What did they do in the big games and the clutch games? All these things are important when it comes to judging the best player in the world. Just moving on.